United's dressing room is noiseless now, but the echo of a single meeting keeps vibrating through the season. A manager drew a hard line. A midfielder heard his name in bright lights for the wrong reasons. And a squad, young, expensive, uneven, understood that standard is not a slogan on the wall, but a living, breathing thing. You either meet or you don't. That is the story of Ruben Amorim's call-out of Manuel Ugarte. Not theater, but a reset. Not humiliation, but a demand. Start with the why. Amorim didn't arrive to sell romance. He arrived to sell repetition. The thesis is simple. Defend with structure, attack with timing, and strip out the mood swings that turned last season into a staircase. 2 steps up, 2 steps down. That blueprint only sticks if the group accepts a truth most super clubs forget. Culture is a performance metric. You can't press in minute 90 if you stop talking in minute 60. You can't protect a lead away to a fast team if the number 6 checks out of duels for 5 minutes because the pass before annoyed him. Amorim has always coached the non-negotiables out loud. At Sporting, he challenged stars in front of peers because consequences were better horizontally than vertically. Your best teammates become your loudest reminders. Ugarte sits at the center of that equation. At his best, he is an accelerant, a ball winner who closes space like a door, a vertical transporter who turns a loose touch into a 30-yard carry, a tone setter who drags the block 5 meters forward just by pointing and sprinting. At his worst, he is noise. Fouls that are 1 yard too late, carries that run into the 4th body, a pass selection that confuses bravery with chaos. The manager did not question talent, he questioned habits. Intensity is a habit. Communication is a habit. Angles are a habit. Habits are coached, then chosen. Zoom in on the tactical role. In Amorim's 3-4-2-1, the nearside double pivot carries 2 jobs. Out of possession, the nearside midfielder must win the first duel after loss and block the cutback lane when the wingback has to jump. In possession, he is the timing valve. Receive on the half turn, bounce the first press with a one-touch wall to the interior 10, or carry diagonally to force the line breaker. If that player stops checking his shoulder before the receive, the build dies and the opponent launches. If that player chases a touchline duel he can't win, the far post runner becomes a portrait. In North London, the film showed both sins. One sequence, 1 second late, and the entire team's body language tilts. So why say it in a room, not in a whisper? Because group standards collapse in private and rise in public. A squad can carry a striker who misses chances. It cannot carry a midfielder who misses cues. When the manager names the cue and names the player, the ambiguity ends. Teammates calibrate around certainty. A captain can be both proud and protected. Ugarte can be both embarrassed and better. The message is precise. Intensity is not a flavor, it's a floor. Now park the emotion and go to the mechanics. If Ugarte plays, what changes? First, his starting reference point. Too often, he begins 5 meters higher than the back line and arrives late into zone 14. The correction is to anchor earlier. Take the half turn with the back to touchline, not to pressure, and carry across the press, not into it. Second, his foul geography. Amorim's teams are elite at the clean yellow. The stop-start-pull at halfway wide, never central, and never with the back line disorganized. Ugarte's quickest route to trust is to choose the right foul on the first read. Third, his passing selection. Fewer rips through the middle third when the far wingback is open. More flat diagonal bounces to the interior 10, so the team exits the trap by design, not by inspiration. Selection is the other lever. This is not a personal purge. It's a portfolio. Against opponents who press high and leave the half space thin, Kabi, Mainu's reception angles calm build and make Bruno Fernandes the second touch rather than the first escape. Against deep blocks that allow carries, Ugarte's verticality makes sense if his first meter is urgent and his eyes stay up. In late lead game states, Casemiro's foul IQ and box protection are the insurance you pay for. Mount's control profile has a role when United need to cycle without inviting counters. Amorim's message to the room should read like a menu. Opponent profile dictates pivot profile. Intensity dictates minutes. Leadership optics matter. A hard line with Ugarte will be read next to earlier choices, dropping high-profile names when the work didn't match the shirt, rewarding Ahmad's repetition with responsibility, trusting Brian Bomo's low-touch efficiency because structure loves with Bruno? This is where culture and tactics kiss. When Bruno becomes the first exit under pressure and the final action in the box, the risk skyrockets, and the back line lives on a trampoline. Protect him from the grease, and he pays you in the gold. That means the 6, or the nearest 8, must crave the dirty receive, show early hips, and own the next pass. If Ugarte wants his minutes back, that's the first ticket. Be the player who wants the worst ball in the worst space. Then put the team in the best space 2 touches later. Amorim's criticism also frames the second phase, the part of United's season that decides whether an unbeaten streak becomes a climb or stays a cushion. This team already looks better on set plays when it floods the 6 and keeps 2 technicians at the D. It looks worse when it clears, scatters, and watches. One midfielder always must be the D spot owner. One must mark the back post body. Those are jobs, not preferences. Ugarte's quickest schedule to redemption is to own those jobs with boring excellence. If the coaching staff can point to 3 straight matches where the post-clear spacing is perfect, the narrative flips from manager scolds to midfield learns. The psychology is a planet of its own. Public accountability can turn brittle squads into glass or into granite. It depends on sequence. Harsh words, clear plan, early win. If Everton at Old Trafford arrives after the break, build the week around 3 visible habits: weak side checks on crosses, first exit patterns after halftime, and a foul map printed on the dressing room wall. Then pick the pivot to execute, not the name to appease. The players will know if the talk was for cameras or for points. They will also know if Ugarte returns with purpose or with posture. Fans can forgive a bad touch. They do not forgive a fake sprint. Zoom out. United's rebuild is as much about habits as it is about heroes. October showed violence of timing. Mbuomo's blindside runs. Ahmad's early cross discipline. De Ligt's penalty spot ownership. November showed a team that can find late courage but still mismanages the middle hour. That middle hour belongs to midfielders. If Ugarte hears the music and meets it, he becomes a solution again. The player who steals 10 meters of pitch on the carry, who murders counters at the halfway rail, who talks his back 3 through danger. If he doesn't, football offers the oldest answer: someone else will. This is why Amorim's moment in the room matters. It wasn't about a name. It was about a non-negotiable. A pressing team with Champions League ambition must compress the list of acceptable choices in the red zone. Talk less about effort and more about meters. Talk less about passion and more about pictures, where you stand when the ball travels. Talk less about mentality and more about minutes. Who plays when the temperature is highest? And keep talking, out loud. Itself if the work is honest. United do not need perfection to stop leaking points. They need predictability. The manager turned up the lights, named the gap, and dared a midfielder to own it. That is leadership. The next act is execution. A 6 who wants the worst receive, a squad that loves the boring check, a team that treats set pieces like open play, and open play like set pieces. If that happens, Amorim's hard line will be remembered not as a headline, but as a hinge.